Good morning, everyone. My name is Abhay Singh, and I welcome you all in today's video analysis of The Hindu. Today is 30th of August 2024, and we will start with the first news headline for the day. And before going into the headlines of the 30th August 2024, we will see few important terms which have been discussed in today's newspaper. So there are four terms which I found important in today's newspaper. So first of all, we will discuss the meaning of those four terms. Then we'll start with the first news headline for the day. The first important word that have been discussed in today's newspaper analysis is the word is I. I means anger. Then we have second important word with us, and that is armistice. Now what this is armistice means? So armistice means truce. Now, if we look at the exact meaning of this particular word armistice, then it means that an agreement, an agreement made by opposing sides in a war to stop fighting for a certain time. So this is the meaning of armistice, that when the opposing sides in a war, they decide that they will stop the war for a certain period of time. Take this example, when we have to bring out our countrymen from Russia, then the war was stopped for a brief moment. So armistice means when the war is stopped, when war is stopped for a certain time. Now we have another word which is important for us is reneging. Now what does this word mean, reneging? To go back on your own वर्ड, मतलब आपने कहा कुछ और आप कर कुछ रहे, मतलब अपने प्रॉमिस को फुलफिल ना कर पाना. दिस इज द वर्ड रिनिगिंग. दिस इज द थर्ड वर्ड. नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द फोर्थ वर्ड, एंड द फोर्थ वर्ड इज xenomorph. Now what does this word xenomorph means? Now xenomorph means strange, strange form. This is the exact meaning of xenophobe, strange or foreign form. In today's the Hindu, this particular word have been used in a very specific context. So xenomorph means also means a term for a type of alien from the alien science fiction, horror movie franchise. So in today's newspaper, this word xenomorph have been used has been used with the very specific in a very specific context, and the context is that basically the character of alien that the producers and the directors depict in various movies. So xenomorph, usually xenomorph means a strange or a foreign form. So alien is a foreign form. So when we use this particular term in the context of a movie, then we use the term xenomorph. So these are the four important words that we have to discuss in today's The Hindu. So now let's start with the first news headline for the day, first important news headline for the day that we have with us. So we will start with the first news headline, and the first news headline is coming all the way from the southern part of our country, Kerala. Actor and member of Legislative Assembly Mukesh and six other have been booked in sexual abuse case. So basically, after this particular report, the Hema Committee report, which was released on 19th of August 2024, there have been various FIRs which have been filed against various artists, and these FIRs were filed by the women victims who have faced a certain kind of sexual harassment, assault, and the bodily violence. So these FIRs have been filed by those women victims. Now this particular report is causing a lot of hue and cry in in the Malayalam movie industry, which is fine. Now we will see the second important news headline for the day, and the second important news headline for 30th August 2024 is related to the our neighboring country Pakistan. So recently, Pakistan has invited our Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi to attend the meeting of Shanghai Corporation Organizations, a meeting which is going to held in the month of October. So Pakistan has invited our Prime Minister to attend the meeting of Council of Heads of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. India is yet to make a statement on the same. India is yet to make the statement on the same. But yes, Pakistan has invited Indian Prime Minister to attend the Council of Heads meeting in Pakistan, which is going to take place between October 15 and 16. Now, the next important news there coming all the way from the northeastern part of our country, and this particular news is coming from Assam. So, recently, Assam Legislative Assembly has passed the bill to make the Muslim marriage registration a must. The Assam Compulsory Registration of Muslim Marriages and Divorces Bill 2024, which was recently introduced by the which was recently introduced in Assam Assembly, has been passed by the Assembly, and this particular bill, the Assam Compulsory Registration of Muslim Marriages and Divorces Bill 2024, will replace Assam Muslim Marriages and Divorces Registration Act 1935. Now, this particular Act of 2024 will replace an 89-year-old act which was enacted in the year 1935. Now, under this particular act, the registration of marriages with the government is also made compulsory, and the legal age of marriages is now 18 for girls and 21 for boys. If anybody is found in contravention of this particular provision of the law, then he or she shall be prosecuted. Now you have to remember this thing in your mind, that 21 years is for the boys and 18 years is for the girls. This is now the rule in Assam, and also Assam Assembly has replaced an 89-year-old bill of British era with the Assam Compulsory Registration of Muslim Marriages and Divorces Bill 2024, which makes it mandatory for the Muslim marriages to get themselves registered. And if they will not register their marriages, then it will lead to violation of law. So this was the third important news related, which is on the first page. So now we'll move to the next important news headline for 30th August 2024. We have a lot of advertisement in today's newspaper, so we'll skip all those. We have a lot of advertisements, so we'll skip all these advertisement. We will only cover important parts. So recently, there was a viral video clip where the Chief Minister of Bengal, Ms. Mamata Banerjee, was seen threatening the doctors who are staging protest against the who are protesting against the unfortunate event which took place on the night of 9th of August 2024. Basically, the rape and murder of a doctor at RG Kar Hospital, Kolkata. So basically, the video audio clip, in the audio clip, the Mamata Banerjee can be heard that she is basically threatening the doctors who are protesting against that particular event. Now we will talk about the second important news that is on the page number 4, and the news is basically that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Maharashtra to participate in the Global FinTech Fest. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the Global FinTech Fest, and he will also lay down the foundation stone for Vadhavan Port. So this is from page number 4. Now we'll move to the next important news headline. Again, we have a lot of advertisement in today's newspaper, so we'll skip all these advertisement. These are of no use. So this is where we came on to page number 8. Again, there is no. um so basically, the government of Andhra Pradesh is uh, has issued a direction that exotic trees should not be planted more and more. Instead of exotic trees, the plant of local species should be planted more and more. And recently, the Andhra Pradesh government is planning to increase the total forest cover in the state total forest cover in the state, and the forest cover will be actually the 33% of total state's area, which means that आंध्र प्रदेश का जितना भी geographical area है उसका 33% आंध्र प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट had decided कि उससे वो लोग फॉरेस्ट कवर की तरह से रेडी करेंगे 33%। आंध्र प्रदेश का जितना भी जोग्राफिकल एरिया है, और आंध्र प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट का जो एक और डायरेक्शन इशू किया गया जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, एंड दैट डायरेक्शन इज बेसिकली दैट आंध्र प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट हैज स्टेटेड दैट द गवर्नमेंट और द ऑफिशियल्स शुड ट्राई टू प्लांट more local species trees. Now we'll move to the next. We again we have advertisement. So this is the spotlight section. Now this article is this particular article is very important when we look into the international perspective. When we look at this with the international perspective, so recently Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi visited Poland and Ukraine. Recently, Prime Minister of India visited Poland and Ukraine. First, he visited Poland. Then from Poland, he took the ride of Rail Force One, and after completing this journey in 20 hours, he reached the Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine. So we will discuss the importance of this particular international visit on the international front, why this particular visit was so important for India. Many of the Western countries and this political expert and the diplomatic expert are claiming that this particular visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi was just to balance the things, because after the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit on the 8th and 9th of July to Moscow has caused a lot of hue and cries. So basically, many experts are seeing this particular visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a balancing step. But let's discuss what are the important things that are related to this particular visit, and how this particular visit is important for both the countries, that is the Ukraine and Russia, and also for the Western countries and European Union. So this was a kind of a historic move by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that just after a month he was going to visit Ukraine, and India's traditional, India's so India's traditional approach towards the foreign policy, that India has always adopted a cautious approach. India has always adopted a cautious approach. So many are stating that this particular visit was a kind of a caution by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi or the Indian government. The visit came at a difficult time for any immediate peace initiative by India, as Ukraine opened a new front of war with a surprise incursion in the Kursk region. So recently there was this claim by the Ukraine that they have captured the Kursk region of the Russia. They have entered the Kursk region of Russia, and it was also uh, in the statement it was also claimed that this is the international border of Ukraine and Russia, and Ukraine have moved 10 kilometer inside the Kursk region. So after this particular kind of statement and a revelation, this particular visit becomes more important. Now, India's foreign policy has always sought to balance its relationship with global power and a peaceful negotiation of territorial disputes. So, we all Indians have always believed that we should maintain our balance in international front, and also India is expert in peaceful negotiations, and also since the onset of the Russia-Ukraine war in February 2022, India has avoided taking sides, much of the ire of the Western states. Ire means anger of the Western states, which have wanted India to condemn the Russian role in the conflict. So many of the Western countries are not happy with India because India has never criticized Russia. India has never criticized Russia, and on the ओपन फ्रंट्स इंडिया ने कभी क्रिटिसाइज नहीं किया रशिया को। और सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट रीजन ये भी है कि वी शेयर गुड रिलेशंस विद वी शेयर गुड बायलैटरल रिलेशंस विद रशिया। तो अगर वेस्ट को कोई चीज़ गलत लग रही है तो टू प्रूव देम करेक्ट और टू विन देयर कॉन्फिडेंस वी कैन नॉट बैकस्टैब आवर फ्रेंड। सो दैट्स व्हाई इंडिया हैज नेवर कंडेम्ड Russia on the international front, and it was expected from the Western countries. Western countries were actually expecting this, that India will condemn the Russian role in the conflict of Russia-Ukraine war on the international front. India has always advocated respect for the UN Charter and peaceful settlement of disputes through the institutions such as the UN. So India has always adopted a very fine and a very balanced approach. Indians do believe in these international institutions which were created by the combined effort of so many countries, the institutions like the UN. What is the role of these UN? What is the role of these international organizations? So the role of these international organizations is very simple: to maintain the international peace. But in 21st century, it has become abundantly clear that these international organizations are failing again and again to combat these kind of wars. Now, given this backdrop, Mr. Modi's visit to Ukraine has some sort of peace initiative on the agenda. The possibility of enhancing bilateral relations with Ukraine appeared slim. So basically, many expert believes that this particular visit was basically related to some sort of peace initiative because there is a less possibility that we are trying to improve our bilateral relations with Ukraine, and we also do not have a lot of trade to do with the Ukraine. So basically, this is a kind of opening a new front for having a peace conversation with Ukraine. However, if you carefully connect the dots, a possible rationale for the visit being to begins to appear. The visit is being interpreted by many analysts as a balancing act by India, especially after Mr. Modi's recent visit to Russia, which attracted criticism for Western powers. Again, and the statement which was given by the External Affairs Minister has made it abundantly clear this was not a kind of a balancing visit. This particular visit was not conducted to balance things. Because when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Russia on 8th and 9th of July 2024, the whole of the West and European Union has criticized this step of Indian Prime Minister. But again, India have adopted a very bold approach, and we were basically focusing only on our bilateral relations, a possible border strategy, the interest. India's historic role as a mediator in international conflict dating back to its involvement in the Korean War, armistice negotiation, and Colombo Plan. So basically, there have been few examples. The author has given few examples to prove that how India has, historically, how India has played a role of mediator in international conflicts. The few examples are Korean War, armistice negotiation, and the Colombo Plan. Now let's talk more about this particular article. So in the month of March, Foreign Minister of Ukraine means Minister Dmytro Kuleba. Mr. Dmytro Kuleba visited India, and he has basically explicitly requested India to restore just and lasting peace in the territory of Ukraine. This appeal allows India to step into more active role in the negotiation. Now, this particular appeal by the foreign minister of the Ukraine has, given a kind of leverage to India that India may play a very active role in the negotiations. India can play a very active role in the negotiations, and one more benefit that India has is basically that we share good bonds with both the countries, that's in Washington and Moscow. We share good relations with Russia and United States of America. So this particular thing can give us a leverage in maintaining and initiating this particular negotiations. Now, the particular this particular stand has been made very clear that India will not initiate any kind of negotiation between Russia and Ukraine, but India can play a role of mediator if countries wishes so. The US has consistently emphasized that any negotiation over the Ukrainian conflict should only occur from a position of strength. So basically, the United States of America is basically saying that Ukraine should adopt a more offensive approach, that they should be in a position of strength to negotiate, and this particular step by the Ukrainian forces, or the particular statement by the Ukrainian forces in which they have stated that they have acquired the Kursk region is basically a manifestation of that strong position. So basically the US firmly believe कि जब तक यूक्रेन एक स्ट्रांग पोजीशन में और या एक पोजीशन ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ में नहीं होगा तब तक नेगोशिएट नहीं कर सकता है, और यूक्रेनियन फोर्स का जो स्टेटमेंट था कि उन्होंने कर्स्क रीजन है जो रशिया का उसे अक्वायर कर लिया है, ये बेसिकली उनकी पोजीशन ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ को ही मैनिफेस्ट कर रहा है. So this was the thing which was related to this what the United States of America believes. Now things are not green for European Union as well, because as the winter is approaching. Now European countries will face hardship due to the energy shortages and inflationary pressure. Now this whole of this the whole of this western part of the world is supporting Ukraine in this particular war, and they have provided a lot of financial assistance to Ukraine. Now these countries are facing a financial economic hardship and also inflationary pressure. Now during the winter season, these countries will require a lot of natural gases for running different kind of operations. Now, Russia is the only viable options available with them. But again, these countries are actually in a situation of worry because their economy is going down, they have inflationary pressure, and also the energy shortages. Among all the stakeholders, Mr. Biden may be the most desperate for an end to the war. And why Mr. Biden is the most desperate for an end to the war? Because after announcing in August 2024 that Mr. Biden will no longer participate in the active politics. So this might be one of the biggest achievement of Mr. Joe Biden, that if he solves this particular problem, if he solves this particular problem of Russia and Ukraine, then he may become one of the greatest in American history. But again, the tenure of the Biden government is coming to an end in month of November. Kamala Harris has become the presidential candidate as well. So now this particular action will kind of add a feather will kind of add a feather in Mr. Biden's hat. Now again, Mr. Trump, who is also contesting for the presidency of United States of America, has given this statement that he can end this war between Russia and Ukraine in a day. So this particular statement by Mr. Trump has kind of built pressure on Joe Biden, and so that's why this particular truce will play a very important will provide not play a very important role, but will kind of provide a sense of satisfaction to Mr. Biden that during the last years of his months of his tenure, he was able to solve one of the biggest international problem, that is Russia-Ukraine war. Taking this forward, Mr. Modi also spoke to Mr. Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin, probably to apprise them of his visit. For Mr. Biden, bringing Russia to the negotiation table before the end of his tenure would represent a significant foreign policy achievement. So basically, if United States of America, with the help of Indian government, is able to bring Russia on the table of negotiation, then also that will be a kind of achievement. That will be a kind of achievement for United States of America, and especially for Mr. Joe Biden. And also for after this crusading defeat in the 2024 18th Lok Sabha election, if Narendra Modi is able to play a very important role, if he is able to play a very important role in negotiating this war between Russia and Ukraine, then this can be a legacy defining moment for Narendra Modi as well. Because the kind of image that Indians have now at the global level is a lot of credit goes to Mr. Narendra Modi. Now Indian diaspora seems at most happy with the international policy making of the Indian government. But now if Mr. Modi is able to, stop this war, and by playing a role of a mediator between Russia and Ukraine, then this might be not a career defining, but will be a legacy defining moment for Mr. Narendra Modi. And also, the successful mediation effort in Russia-Ukraine conflict could bolster his reputation as a global statesman and enhance his standing both at home and abroad. So, if Mr. Modi is able to solve is Mr. Modi is able to solve this particular problem, then his image will change drastically all around the world and in India as well. And now we have to understand one more thing, that India has always adopted this approach of Vishwa Guru and Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra. So हम पूरे वर्ल्ड के दोस्त बनने चाहते हैं. So we will be call ourselves as the Vishwamitra. सो हमारा जो ये लॉन्ग टर्म विजन है विश्व मित्र और विश्व गुरु का, इसको भी काफ़ी हेल्प मिलेगी अगर हम लोग ये वॉर रुकवाने में या नेगोशिएट करवाने में एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करते हैं. सो दिस वाज द फर्स्ट आर्टिकल. इसका इंटरनेशनल इम्प्लीकेशन जो था वो हम लोगों ने डिस्कस कर लिया है. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द मूविंग दिस पावर स्पॉटलाइट टू ग्रास रूट डेमोक्रेसी. नाउ व्हाट इज दिस ग्रास रूट डेमोक्रेसी that has been discussed in this particular article. So grassroots democracy is basically the local self-government, and also this urban, these municipalities and gram panchayats are the grassroots democracy. Now let's understand what is the situation of the grassroots democracy in India. Now, the Election Commission of India, with its track record of conducting free and fair elections, now we have to understand that there are two bodies in India. One is Election Commission of India, and another one is the State Election Commission. At the end of the day, to conduct the general election and the state legislative assembly election, it is the responsibility of Election Commission of India to conduct elections for the parliament and state legislative assembly. But when it comes to conduct the elections for the local self bodies or these municipalities and gram panchayats, it is the responsibility of state election commission to conduct the elections. Now there are 34 election commissions in India, which actually state election commissions in India, which actually needs serious attention and strengthening. So these local, the concept of local bodies were introduced in India by the virtue of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act are very important. Why 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts are very important? The only reason why 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act becomes very important, that 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, which came in the year 1993, has introduced the system of Panchayati Raj in rural India. एंड दिस इज माई सिंसियर रिक्वेस्ट, अगर आप लोगों को वीडियो में कुछ भी मीनिंगफुल लगता है तो प्लीज़ वीडियो को थोड़ा सा क्या ऑब्वियसली just give us the thumbs up if you find any of the content in this particular video useful. So 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1993 is related to Panchayati Raj in rural areas. This is the grassroots democracy जिसकी हम बात कर रहे थे. And 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1993 talks about the creation of municipalities in urban areas. So this is basically 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, which was brought in the year 1993. Now let's understand a bit more about this particular article. Let's understand more about this particular problem. And these acts, so I am right. Why I have written 1993? Because these Amendment Act came into force on 1993, and these amendments were brought in the year 1992. So remember this: these amendments were brought in the year 1992, and these amendments were implemented or effectively enforced from 24th April 1993. 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act was effectively enforced from 24th April 1993, and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act was effectively enforced from 1st of June 1993. These amendments were brought in the year 1992. Now let's understand one more important thing that we have to discuss, that these particular amendments have added two more schedules in the Indian Constitution, and those schedules are basically by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. 11th schedule was added in Indian Constitution, and by the virtue of 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, 12th schedule was added in Indian Constitution. So this is the background of the grassroots democracy, or this is the history of the grassroots democracy. 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, which were which were basically implemented from 1993. Now let's discuss this particular article in a bit detail. The state election commissions. Now we have two bodies. The one is the Election Commission of India, which we call as ECI. Then we have State Election Commission, SECs. State election commissions were brought into existence by adding Article 243K and 243ZA. Election Commission of India came into existence by the virtue of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts, and these two articles were inserted, 243K and 243ZA. Now the Article 243K and 243ZA vested the power to superintend this election, to superintendent to control the preparation of the elections at the panchayat level. So 243K, 243ZA were inserted in the Indian Constitution by the virtue of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1993. which provided extensive power to the State Election Commission to conduct, superintendent, direct and prepare electoral rules for conducting elections in local panchayats and urban local governments. In reality, however, state election commissions are increasingly disempowered and in certain cases even litigation with their state government. So basically what the author is trying to say that the state election commission are basically not, are not that much empowered. They are basically disempowered. They do not have sufficient powers to conduct the elections and regulate the elections. And in many states, they are basically, uh, you know, uh, in a kind of litigation with the respective state government. Now let's focus on the next aspect of this particular article. So recently, the example of Karnataka have been discussed. The Karnataka government had assured the High Court in December 2023 that it would publish the delimitation reservation detail within 2 weeks to enable the State Election Commission to conduct elections. In another set of cases filed by the Andhra Pradesh SEC and several others in 2020, the Supreme Court struck down an ordinance of Andhra Pradesh which hindered elections to the Panchayati Raj institutions. So basically, these are the things that are happening in India that the basically states are trying, they are basically trying to avoid these elections of the local self governments के जो elections होते हैं इनको avoid करने की कोशिश की जा रही है. Now the author has made an analysis or the performance and performance audits of the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act by the CAG. Comptroller and Auditor General ने जो म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज का जो ऑडिट किया था इंडियन 18 इंडियन स्टेट्स में, उस ऑडिट का एक ये रिपोर्ट जो सामने आया निकल के, वो बहुत ही एक शॉकिंग डेटा है कि जितने भी जगह का ऑडिट किया गया था उसमें से 2240 अर्बन लोकल गवर्नमेंट या बॉडीज थी, जिसमें से सिर्फ 1560 अर्बन लोकल गवर्नमेंट्स में इलेक्टेड काउंसिल था ही नहीं. मतलब 70% अर्बन लोकल गवर्नमेंट्स जो कि 18 स्टेट्स में अवेलेबल थे उसमें से 1560 में इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव अवेलेबल ही नहीं थे. फिर एक दूसरा डेटा है जनाग्रह एनुअल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया सिटी सिस्टम 2023 A6 2023 का एक सर्वे है जिसमें ये बोला गया that 11 out of 34 state and UTs have empowered SEC to conduct ward delimitation. So basically, only 30% of the state election commissions in India have allowed their state election commissions to conduct a ward delimitation, and 23 states in India are still 23 states in India or 23 state government in India are still, they still have to provide this specific power to state election commission to conduct the ward delimitation. Electoral reforms to strengthen the third tier. Now basically this is known as the third tier of the government. One is at the central, another one is at the state, and third one is at the local level. So regular and fair elections to this local self-government are negotiable for meaningful grassroots democracy and ensuring effective first mile service delivery in the cities and the villages of the country. So why this becomes very important, we have already discussed that regular and fair elections to local governments provide a non-negotiable, they are basically non-negotiable because majority of our country lives in the rural areas, and if you do not conduct the elections at the regular intervals, then how will you give or provide them with the benefits of the state and the central government? Because at the end of the day things get more systematic, the things get more systematic when this particular third tier was introduced. So things will be implemented in the best possible way if we conduct elections at the regular intervals. Now there have been one important case of Supreme Court of India which have been discussed, that the kind of reforms which Supreme Court of India has suggested in the 2006 judgment, in this 2006 judgment of the Supreme Court in Kishan Singh Tomar versus Municipal Corporation of the City of Ahmedabad and others. This particular judgment was delivered by the Supreme Court in the year 2006, and in this particular judgment Supreme Court has suggested many reforms. And the first reform was there is a need to bring state election commissions on a par with the Election Commission of India. So basically, first one was that state election commission should have a similar power as of the Election Commission of India. Then the second recommendation was that delimitation of ward boundaries and reservation of seats must be mandated only at a fixed interval. So once in 10 years, the absence of this check can lead to state government acting arbitrarily. So the second one was that the period of the frequency of delimitation should be fixed, otherwise state governments will act in a arbitrary manner. Third, the powers of ward delimitation reservation of seats for local government must be vested in the SEC. Now, the third important recommendation or the third important measure suggested by the Supreme Court of India was basically that the power of ward delimitation and reservation of seats should be provided to the state election commission of that respective state. As of now, we have already discussed one survey we have already discussed one survey A6 2023, and in that particular survey we have already seen that only 11 state election commissions have been vested with the power to conduct the delimitation and reservation. And this was the kind of reform which was suggested by the Supreme Court. So these are the various reforms that have been suggested by the Supreme Court, that how we can strengthen this third tier, how we can strengthen this third tier system. Now we are coming back to this opinion page. This opinion page of 30th August 2024 is related to the lateral entries. This is basically related to lateral entries, so we won't be covering uh, it at this particular point because this is in the question answer form. So instead of covering it at page number 13, we'll cover it at page number 15 or 16, because on page number 15 or 16 there have been one article which have discussed all these things related to lateral entries. So in the on the text and context page, when it comes to text and context page, one important thing have been discussed, basically the gender budget of 2024-25. Now, let's discuss one more important aspect, that this year this year the budget was presented twice, one before the election and one after the election. This was election year, so two budgets were presented. So recently, the budget was presented by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on 23rd of July 2024. So basically, first let's discuss what is this gender budget. Now, before going deep into this particular article, let's understand what is the meaning of gender budget. Now, so basically, gender budgeting means it is concerned with gender budgeting is concerned with sensitive formulation sensitive formulation of legislation, programs and schemes, allocation of resources, allocation of resources, implementation and execution, implementation and execution, execution and follow up, corrective action to address gender disparity. So basically, what is this gender budgeting means? That gender budgeting means, or gender budget simply means that they the gender budgeting basically allows the government to form policies through allows the government to promote this gender equality through fiscal budgeting or through the budgeting. So in under the concept of gender budgeting, we provide or we allocate more resources towards this specific gender to provide them equality. To provide them equality, we provide or we allocate more resources towards a specific gender. So when in India, when we talks about the gender budgeting, we specifically talk about female gender. So what have been the various kind of allocations that have been made in the budget of 2024-25? We'll discuss few of the things. So, women-led development remains at the core of announcement made by the finance minister in this year's budget. The commitment of women empowerment was reflected in budget allocations to pro-women programs as reported by the gender budget statement. The gender budget reached 1% of GDP estimates in 2024-25. For the first time, the overall allocation currently stands at more than 3 lakh crore for pro-women programs. So now, in 2024-25 budgets, in 2024-25 budget, the government has allocated little over 3 lakh crore, a little over 3 lakh crore for pro-women programs, and also for the first time the gender budgeting the gender budgeting has reached 1% of the GDP. So this is one important news कि हमारे GDP का almost 1% of gender budgeting को हम लोग allocate कर रहे हैं. The concept of gender budgeting was introduced in India in 2005-6. 2005-6 में जेंडर बजटिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट आया था. और जब ये कॉन्सेप्ट आया था तो एक आइडिया बेसिक आइडिया ये था कि हमारा जो भी बजट है, सो जेंडर बजटिंग को ऑन एन एवरेज हम 5% शेयर एलोकेट करेंगे. ऑन एन एवरेज हम 5% एलोकेट करेंगे. और 2024-25 का जो बजट है, इट हैज़ रीच्ड ऑल द रिकॉर्ड्स एंड इट हैज़ एलोकेटेड 6.8% ऑफ द बजट टू द प्रो वुमेन स्कीम्स. 1% जीडीपी का और 6.8% हमारे बजट का एलोकेट किया गया है जेंडर बजटिंग की स्कीम्स को रिलेटेड, जो कि जो 2005-6 में जेंडर बजटिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था जो 5% था. सो वी हैव ब्रोकन द रिकॉर्ड एंड वी हैव इंक्रीज this particular funds for the gender budgeting so that we can uplift the status of women working in our country or women who are there in our country. Now the increase in gender budget allocations, and why more and more allocation is required, because only 32.8% in only 32.8% women in India are actually either they are working or they are finding the work. Whereas the number of when we talk about the male in India, then the LFPR, labor force participation ratio. Now the labor force participation ratio females का almost 77% है इंडिया में और females का 32.8% है. So there is a gap of 45%. ठीक है. और अगर आप इस कंट्री को बहुत ज़्यादा पेस में बहुत फास्ट डेवलप करना चाहते हैं तो आप क्लियरली एक चीज़ विजिबल है यहाँ पे कि हमें जो लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन रेट होता है, लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन रेट का मतलब क्या होता है कि जो इंटायर वर्क फोर्स आपके पास अवेलेबल है उसमें से कितने लोग अभी काम कर रहे हैं और काम के लिए एक्टिवली ढूंढ रहे हैं. सो बेसिकली ये होता है आपका लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन रेशियो. सो अभी 77% मेल्स जो वो तो या तो ऑलरेडी काम कर रहे हैं या काम ढूंढ रहे हैं, बट फीमेल्स 32.8% है. सो हम लोग थोड़ा सा जेंडर सेंसिटिव स्कीम्स बना के या जेंडर स्पेसिफिक स्कीम्स को बना करके हम जो वुमेन का पार्टिसिपेशन है हमारी इकोनॉमी में वो और बढ़ा सकते हैं. एंड दिस विल सडनली help the Indian women in contributing more towards the Indian economy. And there was one article which have been discussed last month, I don't know exact date, जिसमें साफ साफ ये बोला गया था that if you want to develop or grow at the fast or the quick pace, then we have to make our development policies more inclusive. सो इंक्लूसिव का मतलब क्या है कि हमें वुमेन को ज़्यादा इन्वॉल्व करना होगा. ठीक है. अब अलग अलग स्कीम्स को डिस्कस किया गया कि कैसे गवर्नमेंट अलग अलग स्कीम्स में बेसिकली कंट्रीब्यूट कर रही है, बजट को बढ़ाया गया है. ठीक है. सो लेट्स डिस्कस. So the PM Kisan scheme in the agriculture sector has been reported in parts with an outlay of 15,000 crore. This is 25% of the total outlay for the program. The second factor driving the overall increase in the increment is the A of GB's part A reports expenditure in schemes with 100% allocation for women. So basically, in this particular article you will see कि कैसे अलग अलग पार्ट्स को क्रिएट करके women specific schemes बनाई गई हैं. प्राइम मिनिस्टर एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन प्रोग्राम, फिर जेंडर बजटिंग में कैसे अलग अलग तरीके से फंड एलोकेट किए गए. तो ये आप बाकी का जो डेटा है वो आप मतलब खुद से देख सकते हैं, बिकॉज इफ यू विल डिस्कस दिस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल इन डिटेल देन दिस वीडियो विल like go for 90 to 95 minutes, so we cannot do that as of now. The time is not allowing us to do that. So I have discussed what is gender budgeting. अभी के रिसेंट में क्या इश्यूज हैं हमने वो डिस्कस किया. बाकी आप स्कीम्स को लेकर के you can have a look कि आपके लिए कौन कौन से स्कीम्स इंपॉर्टेंट है. Then we have something to discuss about lateral entries, because the Recently, Union Public Service Commission or the UPSC have withdrawn the advertisement for 45 posts of joint secretaries and deputy secretaries in various government departments. So we will discuss what are the two systems that are available with us. So we all know, we all understand what is this merit system. So merit system is basically when uh, the appointment is based on the rigorous selection process by an independent authority, like the civil services examination, which is conducted by UPSC annually in India. First, you have to appear for a prelims examination, then you have to appear for a mains examination, then you have to appear for the interview, then you have to take the medical test. So this is a long and lengthy process which is involved in actually the merit-based system. And in India, the concept of this Indian civil services was introduced in 1858. 1858 में Indian civil services का concept introduce किया था Britishers ने, and this was also basically related to the merit system. Now, what is this spoil system? The spoil system, on the other hand, work on the edge of the victor belong to the spoil system, where the incumbent political executive appoint its supporters to various posts in the government. So spoil system is basically actually not working at this current point of time. So under the spoil system, basically the political executives who are running the government, they will appoint their supporters in the various departments and various posts of the government. Now the concept was basically originated in 1883 in United States of America, when a large number of positions were replaced by the not exactly in 1883. In 1883, the system was replaced. So in 1883, the system was replaced by merit system in the United States of America. And before 1883, basically there was a spoil system. Under the spoil system, these political executives will basically control, not actually control these political executives, but they will actually appoint their supporters in the various department of the government. Now, what is this lateral entry? So the concept of this lateral entry is that IAS and other central service officers with more than 15 years of experience are generally posted as joint secretary to head various departments. So बेसिकली जो बहुत सारे आईएएस और अदर सेंट्रल सर्विसेज के ऑफिसर्स हैं, जब वो लोग 15 इयर्स तक सर्व कर लेते हैं, जब उन्हें 15 इयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस हो जाता है, तो उन्हें बहुत सारे डिपार्टमेंट में एज ए जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी अपॉइंट कर दिया जाता है. अब लेटरल एंट्री का मतलब क्या होता है? लेटरल एंट्री का एक मतलब होता है कि जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर, पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स या पीएसयूज हैं, उनमें जो अलग अलग सीनियर और मिडिल मैनेजमेंट की जो पोजीशन है, या जो ये अलग अलग एम्प्लॉयज़ हैं, या जो अलग अलग एग्जीक्यूटिव्स हैं, जो टॉप मोस्ट पोजीशंस पे काम कर रहे थे प्राइवेट सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स और पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स और प्राइवेट सेक्टर में, उन्हें डायरेक्टली अपॉइंट किया जाता है मैनेजरियल लेवल की जो पोस्ट होती हैं मिडिल और सीनियर मैनेजमेंट लेवल पे गवर्नमेंट पोजीशंस में. ये डायरेक्ट अपॉइंटमेंट होता है, इसमें किसी भी तरीके का कोई रिजर्वेशन नहीं होता है. ये ओपन कैटेगरी में वैकेंसीज होती हैं. जो लेटरल एंट्री होता है, कोई मेरिट बेस्ड सिस्टम नहीं होता है, एक्सपीरियंस के बेसिस पे लिया जाता है. और बेसिकली लेटरल एंट्री का कॉन्सेप्ट इसीलिए आया था ताकि जो एक्सपर्ट नॉलेज होती है वो प्रोवाइड की जा सके. अब इंडिया में सेकंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म कमीशन, जिसको हम आर्क रिपोर्ट भी बोलते हैं, सेकंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म कमीशन, और नीति आयोग ने 2017 में सजेस्ट किया था लेटरल एंट्रीज के लिए कि कुछ स्पेशलाइज्ड नॉलेज और स्किल्स की ज़रूरत है गवर्नेंस में. गवर्नेंस के लिए इसीलिए हमें कुछ स्पेशलाइज्ड या स्पेसिफिक एक्सपर्टीज़ के लोगों को अपॉइंट करना होगा. So this was related to basically this lateral entry. We have already made so much of discussion on lateral entries already. So the next important term that we have discussed is xenomorph. We have already discussed the meaning of xenomorph. Now the National Security Advisor Mr. Ajit Doval is on a 2-day visit to Colombo. So this is also important. So in the recent judgment of the Supreme Court, so what happened in this particular judgment of the Supreme Court, that various people have secured government job between 1970 and 1987 based on the caste certificate issued by the Karnataka. But later in 2001, these caste were descheduled by the Karnataka government. So these castes were actually descheduled by the Karnataka government, and certificates were invalidated. So now the Supreme Court of India has stated that though these particular uh, castes were descheduled, but they have secured this job in 1978 and 1987. So the state government is not empowered to snatch the job from these employees. So this is a great news for Indian Navy and for also for the citizen of this country that Indian Naval Services has they have actually commissioned a second nuclear powered ballistic missile submarine INS Arighat. This was the second commissioning, the second nuclear powered ballistic missile. Earlier it was INS Arihant, which was commissioned in 2016. So the CEO of Telegram, Pavel Duro, who have been arrested by the French government or the government of France is basically some serious allegations have been made. Allegations like that a lot of criminal activities or lot of crimes have been executed by using this particular platform. Now the Paralympics have started and Indian Indian Paralympic archer Sheetal, Indian Paralympic archer Sheetal Devi finished second with 703 points out of the 720 possible points. She was at the second place. So this is one good news that is coming all the way from Paris Paralympics 2024. And with this, we have completed the news analysis of 30th of August 2024. And if you have liked this particular video, then do if you have understood all the things, then please do like this particular video and subscribe to Success Mantra digital channel. And also if you have any questions, then do punch in the comment section. We will definitely get back to you. So thank you so much for watching today's video analysis, and with this we will be wrapping up today's session. So thank you so much. मिलते हैं फिर कल वापस से. So thank you so much.